there, my name's Gill Tiney. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me. We all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learnt an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hello and welcome to Being Human Hidden Depths podcast by Collaboration Global with myself, Gill Tiney, and my wonderful guest who's just promised not to swear. Let's see if he keeps to that. Depends how much I probe him and how it goes. But welcome, Nigel Hughes. Lovely to have you with us today.
Hello, very nice to be here.
Well, normally on our podcast, it's the domain of our members because I like to show off about them. And they are genius people, obviously, and they tell me why they first got interested in Collaboration Global. So one of our members introduced us, and that was the wonderful Chris Grimes. So could you just give us a little outline on how you came in contact with Chris and what you think about what you did with him, actually? Just give a little shout out to Chris there.
Yeah. So well done, Chris Grimes. He found me on LinkedIn, and in my profile, I think I mentioned that I'm an ex-BOVTS student, right. Bristol Old Vic Theatre School.
Lovely.
So I was there from 69 to 72. He was there 82, around there somewhere.
Yeah.
But he thought, that would be interesting just to have a chat about, the good old days, bad old days.
Yeah.
So that's how we first got in touch, and then he's got his wonderful storyline that he takes you through.
Yeah.
So it was incredibly enjoyable, and he gave me lots of good information to begin with, just enough to give a context, but he didn't spoil the surprise because I love things like this to be spontaneous,
yes,
rather than a prepared speech and presentation. So here I am, in my 1642 shed.
Wow.
Attached to my 1642 timber framed house, and this particular area used to be the what they call the wash house.
Yep.
There was a copper boiler in the corner with a little fire under it, and then on my right here there was a door which was the outside lav.
Of course, yes.
Yep.
So,
and
1642. Have you got any ghosties in your house?
Well, funnily enough, because we arrived here in 1976.
Good year.
So been here quite a long time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We called it aphid summer.
Yes.
Yeah, so many aphids. So we arrived in 1976, and we've been here ever since.
Oh.
And then when we moved in, and sitting around the place, I kind of, every time I went into the sitting room, I just felt this kind of presence. And I said to Rick, my now husband, there's something else here that is a little spooky. And he said, yes, I think I've kind of experienced that as well.
Wow.
So we said, okay, well, here we are now. We're here. And every time I went into the sitting room, I talked to the spirits and said, yeah, we're here now, and we get that you're here. But you know what? This house is incredibly safe in our hands.
Yes.
So you've done your job, and bye-bye. And I have to say, probably within about 24, 48 hours.
Oh. Yeah, that's nice. They were just watching over it, weren't they? That's
exactly.
Lovely. Yeah.
I thought very kind, So I thanked them for their service, and off they went. So that's one little ghost story. But of course, when people come, they all go, ooh, This feels a bit. I said, not anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I know a lot of people who live in beautiful old dwellings like that, and they've all got a story to tell.
Yeah.
And some not in such a nice way, and some in beautiful ways. So it's I love, because everyone is like, oh, for goodness sake, ghosts, spirits, will a poo-poo it in the cold light of day. But you ask direct questions, and if you've got 5 people in the room and say, have you experienced ghosts? Probably 3 out of the 5 have, or
Yes.
something, some spirit or some.
Yes.
To me, it just was. Why wouldn't you?
Yes.
It's around. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful podcast that I listened to with you and Chris.
Great.
And that's what attracted me to get in touch with you. And luckily, Chris put us together, which thank you very much, Mr. Grimes. And I highly recommend people get hold of his podcast. If you find him on LinkedIn, Chris Grimes, all the details of the podcast are on there. It's a good listening to show, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
Because he gives you a damn good listening to. He's very good at it.
He does, and he gives you a damn good questioning and a great process. He's got a very good technique.
Yes.
And he gives you lots of context and purpose, kind of to help prepare you. He doesn't actually say what he's going to ask you. So a bit like you, it becomes very spontaneous. So
yeah. And I also, when I was on his podcast, I just came away driving home feeling what a privilege it was to be listened to like that. It just felt very, very special. So go and listen to those podcasts if you haven't already. So Nigel, so much that we could talk about. I just had a glance over your wonderful websites, but you are passionate about so many different things, not least the way that you help people by utilizing your knowledge of the arts to kind of get them out of themselves. Let's just go back away. What got you to be, where did the acting bug catch you?
Well, I think it probably started when I was about 5.
Lovely.
I have a military background. All my siblings were in the military. Both parents were in the military. We moved around a little bit, but I was born in Glasgow, and we moved down to the West Country, in Devon, and somewhere in there was a moment when I was asked to sing in church on Sunday school, and apparently I sang "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star."
You cherub.
I know, it was quite cherubic, and so that was kind of part of it. But again, fast forward, fast backwards. As I say in the podcast with Chris, is that there was a turning point when, at the age of 13, I was asked by my careers advisory board what I wanted to do when I grow up, and they looked at all my information. They looked at the family situation, and they said to me, "Hughes, we think you ought to join the Marines." Ooh. And I said, "Oh, this is Nigel Ronald Hughes you're talking to?" And they looked at each other, and they were, yes. Well, thank you very much for your advice, but I'm not going to join the Marines. I'm going to do ballet.
Oh, lovely.
And I left the room.
Yeah.
And then on the way back to the classroom, I had a tap on the shoulder, and it was my art and geography teacher, Tony Franks, and he said, "Nigel, they want you to come back." So they said, "Okay, thank you, Hughes. We're interested. Why ballet and not Marines?" And apparently I said, "Oh, well, my understanding is that if I'm trained to be a Marine, I'm trained to kill people. If I'm trained as a ballet dancer, then I'm trained to inspire people."
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And again they said, "But do you have any experience of ballet?" And I said, "Well, as it happens, yes. I do ballet on Saturday mornings, and on Saturday afternoons I play for the under-15 Devon rugby team." So they were scratching their heads, kind of going,
"What a combination!
Who is this fellow? And how did you come across ballet?" And I said, "Well, I've got maternal line is Scottish,
right,
Our paternal line is Welsh, but we used to celebrate every Friday night. We used to go to a ceilidh. We did Scottish Highland dancing, Scottish country dancing, and I became a bit of a Scottish Highland dancing champion.
Ah.
So I enjoyed it very, very much, and in that whole kind of education process where you're trying to establish who you are, I continued to do my Scottish Highland dancing, and at school they even asked me to do at one of their May Day celebrations, the Scottish Highland Fling. So I went, fine, I'm very happy to do it. And again at the ballet school that I went to, suddenly we had the Royal Ballet School spotter come in and sit in on a class, and they offered me a scholarship to the Royal Ballet School, and I went, oh golly, all right. But sadly, my father died in that time, so my mother was left not having enough money. Even though I was offered a scholarship, it would mean a huge amount of fees. So I turned down that opportunity, but I continued for a while, and then I went to art school, did a fine art part of the fine art degree. Then I went to Bristol Vic Theatre School to train as an actor for 3 years. And I ended up being what we call a triple threat in the business: a singer, dancer, and actor. So for 20 years or so, I was a professional performer.
Brilliant. And you know what? You've just proven my theory that I often ask people at the end of the conversation, what's one of your happiest times when you were a child? And they will tell me an incident, and you can relay it directly to what they're passionate about today. And you've just given me that line. It's like you wanted to inspire people.
Yes.
And you've chosen that route in so many different ways. But the bottom line is you are gifting your talents to inspire people, make them better for who they are as well, which is beautiful. Yeah. And that, for me, is the core of any good collaboration, where we come together and gift of our genius, whatever that happens to be, to help and support other people and make sure that they can go on and help more people as well. So this is a very, what's the word? Happy collaboration, this conversation. So I'm really happy about that. But you also, as time has gone on, one of the things I found out about you recently is that you have been into rewilding. Because up the road from me, where I live in West Sussex, there's a beautiful place called the Knepp Estate, Knepp, if you want to go look it up. And they have been rewilding for, I don't know, about 20 years now. And it's amazing. You can go on a rewilding safari, all sorts of things. And you very confidently said, oh, we've been doing that before it was fashionable. So you have a great love of the environment and creating things naturally. And when did you first agree with your husband that, should we do this thing? Should we just let it go back to nature?
Yeah, I suppose because, again, going back to my childhood, I was brought up in a very safe place, in Devon. And, I was allowed to go out on my bike, 5 years old, 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. And I was brought up in a place called Sidmouth in Devon, and beautiful, red cliffs and beaches. Yeah. And so I was just allowed to explore. So that's where I kind of got my love of nature from. So when Rick and I arrived here in this place, this little cottage, it had a garden, probably about 1/4 of an acre, which was completely overgrown. It had literally gone wild.
Yeah.
Because the previous owners weren't interested. So we kind of went, oh, this is interesting. And then we started looking at the area and seeing what was around. And we started to do some what we call nip and tuck. So we now have, 1/2 an acre of garden that we manage and grow vegetables, herbs, blah, blah, blah. So we eat out of the garden a lot. But also, then we were able to acquire about 6 acres around the land eventually. But we influenced the farmer who owned the land, and he was, crop spraying like they do. And so Rick and I said, oh, it'd be nice if we kept some bees. So we got 3 hives and started managing bees. And then the farmer, with his sensitivity, said, "Oh, I see you've got bees. I'd better stop spraying."
Oh, lovely. That's nice. I thought you were going to say you had
Of
to
his
work.
own volition.
That's lovely.
And we said, "Okay, that'd be great." And then he owned only about 200 acres around us.
Only.
But then another farmer came along and went, "Oh, you're not spraying your crops. That's interesting. Let's have a look." So actually now, by our simple action of putting in 3 hives and Tim stopping spraying, we're now surrounded by about 4,500 acres of organic land.
Wow, that's amazing. That's testament, isn't it? To people that are prepared to go against the norm. I think that is so telling of who they are and their strength of character, that they're like, no, let's try this. Because actually, if that had gone horribly wrong, that's their livelihood gone down the road, hasn't it?
Totally. Well, they were well supported. You know, there's the Organic Farmers Association that actually help people, and it's a gradual transition. But for us, it's about we as I said, we arrived here in 1976. And we didn't know that we were rewilding. We were kind of stopping, breathing, looking, listening, noticing that if we nipped and tucked here and there, then the land would respond in one way. And if we nipped and tucked in another way, and I'm looking now where I'm sitting out of my office window, and we discovered it's a hedge that's been there for a while. But if you actually use what's called Hooper's law, so you measure 30 meters repeatedly along the hedge line, and if you get the kind of same number of mixed species, natural species, then you can date the hedge. So guess what? We do 30 meters, we count 11 different species. We do another 30 meters, we count 11 different species. We do another. So actually, our ancient hedge that I'm looking at is 1,100 years old.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean to say it's gone wild.
No.
It's been managed, because you do have to manage hedges, of course.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's there gives us, again, it just gives us inspiration that we're connected to people that have been living here over 1,000 years ago. I mean, that's such a deep connection, isn't it?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think the people that are listening to this now might be considering how busy their life is, how stressed their life is, how out of control their life is, that they couldn't even consider some of the projects that you might be considering now and what you are doing. Do you feel that you've been sucked into the AI world, or do you purposefully go, I'm not going down that road, I'm not going to do the social media thing? And do you feel that your life, not necessarily better, but you have more control over who you are?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, one of the big scary things for me is that, where is the soul in AI? I think it's probably a very good technical support for doing things technically. But, my worry is, like people, everybody has a different soul path. And of course, if you use technology in a particular way, then my fear is that we all do become robots. So for me, it's the individuality that makes people grow. And and again, just, you didn't quite ask this question, but when we arrived, Rick and I, with the big garden on the side, is that we decided that we would, get up, have a pee, have a cup of tea, and spend an hour every day in the garden first.
Gosh. Yeah.
And then we would have breakfast.
Yeah.
So and that's what I do every day. I get up, and I spend an hour around the land first. Rick's a very serious Vipassana meditator, so he spends an hour on his inner life.
Yeah.
I spend an hour, if you like, on my outer life.
Yeah.
We're both Taurian males. We both love the land. and it's a wonderful compliment. And at
Mm.
the end of the day, I do my meditation. At the end of the day, he goes out and does his work in the garden.
Oh, you suit each other very well. There's a top and tail going on. So presumably, when you are away from home, that's something that you miss.
Oh yes, yeah. But the good news is that wherever I am, because in my business, and I travel a lot. I used to travel a lot, don't quite so much now, but traveling all around the world. And by the way, just in case anybody's thinking, oh, what do you do about all that carbon? Well, we've been responsible for planting about 5 million trees so far.
Wow.
So we've got a bit of a carbon offset bank going here.
Yes.
But the thing is that wherever I am, I always do some physical exercises first, and then I can always find a place to walk, even if it's a car park.
Right.
And and there's always a crack of nature somewhere.
Yes.
That you can spot, and you can go, oh right, there's a little tiny weed. It's doing its best. Yeah. So
and that's all humanity needs, isn't it? Is to do its best.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, just do your best. I always, when my kids were younger and that they had different, part-time jobs and things, and they were, oh, I don't like this job. I said, look, be the best you can at this job, because that will just put you head and shoulders above those that can't be bothered. And then you'll get a better job and you'll move on and you can choose other things. But if you're not doing your best, then you're not fulfilling who you are.
Yes.
Moving forward.
And just on that track, we were brought up as I said, in a military family. We all had our chores that were allocated. And, those chores used to rotate through the week. So if we did washing up, then the next week we would do drying up. Next week we would, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we were taught to be independent. We were taught how to fend for ourselves. I did 2 paper rounds before I went to school each morning. From as a teenager. So so there's always that thing about pocket money. What's pocket money? You have to go and earn it, mate.
Yeah. That seems to be a dying ethic, I think. Yeah. I could be doing a lot of our younger people a disservice, but there doesn't seem to. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast. We're not going to go down that road.
No.
So, as a professional actor, you now take those wonderful acting skills into the boardroom to support CEOs and people who need to get into who they are and what they're about. But I'm going to put a pin in that as well, because what I'm fascinated by is what your passions are, and obviously, as you've already demonstrated, it is the environment. So you have a website as well. What's it called?
It's called Outstanding.global.
There we go. And that's where we can find out more about that. And at the moment, you have got yourself a little book launch. Now, how many books have you written so far?
Well, as it happens, I just happen to have them in front of me.
Good man. That's quite right. Trees of Paradise. How lovely is that? Beautiful.
So this is about it says at the top here, Rainforest Quest. So in the late 70s, there was a big hoo-ha about destruction of rainforests in Amazon, like there is now.
Yeah.
And Rick and I looked at each other and said, well, we better do something about it.
Wow.
So actually, we went off, not to the Amazon, but we went off in search of primary rainforest, and got rather waylaid in Borneo, where we were held up at gunpoint. We were marooned, and I nearly died.
Oh my goodness!
But having done that, we came back to the UK for a while, and then somebody said, "Well, what are you going to do now?" Oh, well, we're going to go somewhere else. Somebody suggested Papua New Guinea. And when they suggested to it, I said, I don't know where that is.
No.
Let's look it up. So we went to Papua New Guinea, and that's what this book is about. It's about our failure in Borneo, and it's about our success in Papua New Guinea. Wow. So if you read this book, you will discover that what we did was we eventually discovered an area of rainforest totally unique, 2,000 square miles of pristine rainforest, owned by 1 or 2 landowners, and it was up for the biggest logging operation in Papua New Guinea at the time.
Right.
And with the help, through drama, funnily enough.
Wow.
So we worked with local theatre company. They created a piece of theatre in their own style, which we took on tour by dugout canoe up through the area that was to be affected. And then we sat down at the end and we had what's called a talk. So we talked about the issues. And this was all done for us to begin with. It was all done sort of sign language because we didn't know what the language was.
Yeah.
Melanesian Pidgin. And then over the years, we began to discover. So ultimately, they decided that they would not have logging. And to this day, that 2,000 square miles of virgin rainforest is still intact.
What a legacy. Wow, that's incredible.
But the important thing was they said, oh, what are the big trees like in your place? Rick and I looked at each other and we went, we lost our big trees many years ago. So they said, well, why don't you go home and do something about that?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And we said, yes, why not? Why don't you come with us?
Yeah.
So we took 3 of the key landowners to begin with, and we wrote this book,
right.
And we constructed a piece of theatre again where they performed and we performed just to help people understand that these people are precious and what they've got is precious. And out of that, we started to create our own newly planted community woodlands here in the UK.
Yeah.
We started in our own village in Lawshall, but now there are 62 projects around the UK, and there's one in Poland, one in India, one in America. So so that's why we've got 62 projects around the world. Which is, again, if you go to the rewilding theme, then they're rewilding, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's incredible, Nigel. I hadn't appreciated how far that reach has gone, and that's collaboration in perfection, isn't it? When you realise, yeah.
And for us, it's about because the whole thing around colonialism, whatever it is, people like us with our skin and go to places and say, you do this and you do that. No. We went in and said, tell us, help us understand what this place is. So we went in with massive curiosity.
Yeah.
And it's also what I do when I go into companies that I work with. I go in with massive curiosity. I don't go in with a fixed answer. I just have to ask, and allow the current, what I call the CVS, the current view of the situation to appear. And then we start asking the question, okay, that's now. And then maybe 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, what's the better view of the situation? And we don't talk about immediately how you get from CVS to BVS, but we allow it to organically unfold, always through, curiosity, team building, people understanding each other, listening to each other, giving each other valuable feedback, looking at strengths, weaknesses, that whole kind of thing. But it's very much a creative collaboration. It's beautiful. And that's why you and I are so aligned. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that when somebody comes in from the outside, so that they can orchestrate something that has no judgment, no blame, no repercussions. It's just, I'm bringing curiosity, I'm listening with fresh ears and a different mindset. I want to see how and it's just you asking the questions, and by them opening the dialogue in a different way without them having to defend themselves or to feel like they are being attacked in any way. They spot the solutions themselves half the time, don't they? It's just that ability to be able to go, look, no one's to blame here. This is just the way it is. Tell me what the situation is and take it from there. It's quite often, I don't know if you've ever done this yourself, when you're stuck in something yourself and you haven't got someone to talk to, if you just say it out loud and you keep talking until you can't stop, you come around this great big circle and you know what you're doing. Your subconscious goes, are you listening? Are you listening? Yeah. Come on, this is what you're supposed to go. Oh.
Yeah. There's another technique which is about writing, and this came from Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way.
Oh.
If listeners haven't come across it, it's really worth having a. She worked with people with drug problems, alcohol, sex, and she created this thing called the Artist's Way, and she created the morning pages. So you get up in the morning and you write. You just write. You don't edit it, and you do it for a period of time. Then you stop. Then you do it again. You stop. And so it just helps you download all that rubbish that's going on until ultimately you've kind of cleared out the rubbish and you get to some new way of thinking.
Yeah.
It's a magic process. So that's a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and I think she's now got it now happens on site or online.
It's really interesting because I used to do a similar process as a business coach with my clients when they didn't know necessarily what goals they wanted to have that year or what they wanted to achieve with their business, or even where their business, what direction it was going. So we would just go like, there's a pen, there's an A4 sheet, you've got to write on that A4 sheet and keep writing for 2 minutes. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And it could be anything. You want a trip to the moon, doesn't matter about your business, just what do you want? What do you want? And then at the finish time, the time's up, right? You've got to stop writing. What was interesting, if you're in a room of people and the women are there, maybe 2 women and like 10 men, the women are like, they don't stop. The men go, right, the first thing, they go, yeah. I said, no, you can't stop. Just keep going, keep going, keep anything. Put rubbish down there. And then you put it away for 24 hours. And then you read it the next day. And one, it looks like somebody else has written it. You're like, yes. Why didn't I wanted that? Oh my God, I do. And it's stuff that's come from way back when that you bring into the fore. And then you cross off all the things that you're actually not really that interested in. You just focus on 3. And it just gives them such a lift of like, yes, this is me. This is who I am. And that's what I want to create. So I'm totally with you on that philosophy of the writing. And yeah, if people don't like writing, if AI takes away, there was a big article on that in the Guardian the other day about AI killing writing. It broke apart. If it ever does, it's like, oh no, let's keep writing because it's so magical in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Of course, your journey, I mean, to Papua New Guinea, I mean, Borneo, incredible. It's kind of moved you on to the next stage because not just trees are your passion and rewilding is your passion. That's part and parcel of it. This beautiful picture behind you gives a clue of what you are now focusing on in a big way because your next book has been written, hasn't it? Tell us about that.
Okay, so I'm not writing the book this time.
Okay.
My husband. It's his. Right. It's his. So the background to this is that. Oh, hello. Hello. Go away. Hello. Hello. Can you call me back in about 20 minutes? I'm just on a Zoom call.
Yes, folks, we are live and we are not editing this out.
We stage manage that, okay?
Yeah.
So what was I saying?
Rick is writing the book.
Yeah. So we made some very good friends who just happened to be from Persia.
Right.
Rick and I looked at each other and did one of those things. Oh, it'd be nice to go to Persia. So off we went to Persia, Iran, and we were taken by a very good friend of ours who married a Persian man. And she'd been there. She's got 2 children, and she kind of guided us culturally for about 3 weeks, and then left us alone. So we stayed for about 2 months, and we heard about the demise of the Persian leopard at the time, and we had the most wonderful hospitality from local people, and we fell in love with the Persians. And so we vowed to each other we would go back to have a look for the Persian leopard. So we did. We went back, but we got stuck because of visa complications. But we ended up in a wonderful island called Qeshm, Qesm, and we met there the environmental controller of one of the most spectacular World Heritage sites, which is, basically a desert. But at the time he said, oh, well, the Persian leopard is under threat. But do you know about the Asiatic cheetah?
Okay.
We learned about the Asiatic cheetah. And eventually we came back from Iran. Then we decided to go back again. And we hooked up with a wonderful team through the Persian Wildlife Heritage Fund. And they assisted us to go on a patrol to look for the Persian leopard and the Asiatic cheetah.
Wow.
We were on a patrol one day, and I just needed to pass some water.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped, had a little pee in the local bush, and I thought, well, it must be my tummy rumbling. And I thought, no, it's not my tummy rumbling, that's outside. So I heard this kind of,
Oh no.
and not so far away, over my shoulder, was a Persian leopard. And of course, they don't attack,
Right.
unless they're
Threatened. Yeah.
So our guides went, yes, let's just leave quietly. But so we did that. But also through that journey, we learned about the Asiatic cheetah. And the Asiatic cheetah is even more under threat. There are fewer than 40 left
Gosh.
in the world, and they all happen to live in northern Iran. So we've been talking about this whole thing, and Rick was so inspired that actually we came back and he wrote a film script.
Right.
And he worked on a film script, 11 drafts. We almost got to the level of production.
Yeah.
We'd got a cast, we got a director, but we just couldn't find the money to make the film. Because as soon as we mentioned the word Iran, the funders all went, ooh, too dangerous. So anyway, that was 2 years ago where that all stopped. And I said to Rick, okay, well, if we can't do a film, let's do the book. So he's adapted the screenplay, and it's now a book which is being published.
Wonderful.
Officially, we've got our retail launch date March the 10th at the London Book Fair.
Lovely.
So we'll have a stand there with our publishers called Softwood Books, and we'll be there at that event for 3 days, and then we've also doing our own launch in the Marleman Theatre, where we invite the public, and we'll have a wonderful Iranian illustrator who's illustrating the book, and she's called Sama Sultani, and we've seen some of her early work, and it's wonderful. It's traditional Persian art with a modern twist. And I've sent you a picture of the book cover, which you can
hopefully add that to the
to add once you little snippet.
So what's the purpose of the film and or the book? Is it literally just to raise awareness, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, it's number one, to raise awareness, but two, this is one of those stories that is really powerful, because it is about, as we're in this situation now globally, the conflict between humans and nature, humanity and animals. And we're constantly, and again, because of our love for nature, we're just noticing there is just all these threats. So Rick decided to do it through a human story of a particular poacher who's turned gamekeeper, and he is now protecting the cheetah. And then in the story, an international war photographer is hired by an international magazine to get the killer picture for the front page of the next edition. So it's a wonderful combination of interaction between humans and animals. So it's I like it. So it's worth a read.
If you like it, good enough. That works for me. This is the problem, isn't it? Everyone hears that name Iran, and they're like, my first thought went to, if it was a tourist attraction in the safest possible way, then you could find the money that would then protect them even more, to make sure that they're always there as a tourist attraction. But then put your hand up if you want to go to Iran for your holiday. Not really
And
going
of course, I would recommend that people do go to Iran for the holiday because the people, the
to.
landscapes, the nature is
Mm.
phenomenal, really phenomenal. I mean, it's always the people in the politics that mess things up, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, but the actual people and the culture, it's one of the richest cultures in the world.
yeah. An
Um,
ancient culture as well.
totally. And and of course, we all know about the African cheetah because they're in Namibia, and there's about 4,000 of them, which is okay. But one of these, um, we're looking at how we can, as you say, raise the awareness about the demise of the Asiatic cheetah, particularly, but
Mm,
also looking at the conflict between humans and the natural world. And that's really a current theme that I'm looking at constantly.
mm, mm. There are so. I think that the world is changing now, isn't it? I think since lockdown, there has been a massive shift. It's like a tectonic shift between what we need and the stuff that we think we need that we don't need anymore. So a lot of people are getting rid of all the need for the stuff like the fancy cars and all the rest of it, and understanding that relationships are probably the most important thing on the planet, but also not just relationships with each other and with our own self, but with the planet as a living, breathing, organic
Yes,
space to be part of.
yes.
And while some people might poo-poo the go out in the garden every day and put your feet on the grass and connect with nature, and why do I want to do that? I watch TV, I watch morning TV. Um, it's until you do it, you
Yeah.
don't understand the profound benefits that it can have. I was talking to Nicolette Richer of Eat Real to Heal on a podcast the other day. She's based over in Canada, and she's about to set up to build her first hotel where people with chronic life-threatening illnesses can go, and through the food that they create for them and the education they give them, 100% can reverse the chronic illness, type 1 and 2 diabetes, cancers, all sorts of things that she's done for thousands of people, just because what we're currently putting in our mouths, our bodies are fighting every piece of processed food, every piece of unorganic vegetables, and all of those kind of things. And the world is slowly waking up to, if you want to live a good, long, healthy life, there's no point living to 100 if you can't walk and you need sticks.
Yeah.
And but living a long, healthy life with clarity of mind, with physical fitness, then you need to change the habits that the last 50, 100 years have put us in,
Yes.
that we think is
Well,
okay, and it's not.
may I interrupt you? Because, of course,
Hello, what have we got here? Oh, hello. Another one. Hope and healing through nature. Nigel Hughes, cancer patients. Patients. I like that. Yes. Tell us more about your that book. How old is that one? Is that before the others, or?
Oh no, this is 20. It was published 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Because I'm a cancer survivor.
Right. There we go.
Of the colorectal variety, and in fact, just around the time when we were going to Iran and Cheetah country and all that kind of stuff, I fell ill with cancer. So going back to the link about the food,
Yes.
is that you get your diagnosis, and then the medical team say, well, this is the way we do this and this and this and this. And I said, actually, it was a bit like my 13-year-old. Excuse me, do you know who I am?
I love it. Let me tell you something here. Let me explain what's going to happen.
Maybe there's another way we could look at this.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at it, the trained way.
It's fair enough for them, yeah.
And so, through a series of questions and in exploration, I came across the old homeopathic hospital, and I said, okay. I worked with a fantastic woman called Sosi Kassab, who was a trained oncologist, but she was also a holistic person. And because of Rudolf Steiner background, there was something called the mistletoe therapy,
Right.
which is used often in Germany. So I started injecting mistletoe, as you do.
Right.
And she said, actually, one of the things that I've looked at your condition, and we've done, several experiments, and you've been a confirmed vegetarian for 50 years or whatever. And she says, actually, it's time for you to change your diet because there are two things missing. You need some fish and you need some meat, and you need to eat one of those each a week.
Wow.
So along with the mistletoe therapy, along with our organic vegetables, then we found an organic supplier for our chicken, and then we found line-caught local fish. And I have to say, that's why I call it hope and healing through nature, because there was the other element was because I do stop and breathe and look. On the cover of the picture is a bee orchid, which we now have probably about 150 of them on our land outside my door.
Oh, lovely.
But then there was something called the evening primrose.
Yes.
And the evening primrose, we were just sitting out watching the sun come down. And I said, Rick, that primrose has just popped. And I don't know if you've ever stopped to look
I haven't.
at evening primrose just go from its bud stage, the sepals one by one just separate, and then the flower just does that. It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And again, with my morning walks, with the way that we diet, suddenly there was a moment in my healing time where we just stopped at the end of the day. And rather than going and watching the telly, we watched the evening primroses pop.
But that's beautiful. And I'll tell you, every woman that's ever gone through menopause will tell you evening primrose oil is the thing to have in your toolkit. It's really useful. So there's so much that the earth gives us that if we allow us to forget nature's tips, then we are losing nature's medicine, aren't we?
Yes, and that's what's frightening, you see, because all the and again, that's one of the things about being in Papua New Guinea, because they have their natural medicines. They don't ship in. They can't afford to buy the stuff. But also one of the big jobs that I've done for the past couple of years is work with a pharmaceutical company called Gilead, and they have centres in Cambridge here in the UK, but also Cambridge in the States. And the reason I decided to work with them is because they were working on a new drug that was nature-based, that was really looking at the prevention and the cure of the HIV virus. And they were making it much more adaptable to the African continent.
Yeah.
So that it didn't have so much refrigeration, And again, I was asked, I said, why do you want me to come in and work with you? And Karen, bless her cotton socks, she said, well, I've got a fantastic team of absolutely expert scientists, but we need to work much more together collaboratively as a team to make sure that we reach all our goals that we reach.
Yeah.
Because, each one of them was down their own having their own scientific thoughts. So the first thing I asked them to do when we met was I asked them to bring a picture of themselves under 5, of what they look like. And I said, it has to be a portent of who you are now.
Right.
And I gave my example of myself, 2-year-old, this size, with a little yellow wheelbarrow at my feet.
Lovely. Yeah.
And so they all brought in pictures, and we all kind of understood. And I said, okay, and then you need to tell us what your favorite song is. And you can either sing it, recite it, play it, dance to it, whatever. So again, we had, 24 people bringing their own personal
lovely
brand, if you like.
Yes.
And as it turned out, at the end of that session, the theme was, okay, climb every mountain, sing from the same hymn sheet. So I said, okay, well, we're meeting in San Francisco next time. I just happen to have a professional friend with a professional recording studio. So what we're going to do is we're going to sing as a choir.
Oh, lovely.
And we're going to sing Climb Every Mountain.
Yes, why not?
Then, of course, they went, what? I can't sing. Da, 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 da. But we did. And it was phenomenal. Yeah. So again, creative collaboration.
Do you know what? There is something special about being in a choir, isn't there? There's kind of, when you're doing something all together and you play it back and you go, oh, it sounds better than I thought it was going to.
Yes. Or actually worse.
Even if it's worse, you get humour from it, don't you?
Exactly.
So it's a wonderful thing. And it is a real food for the soul, as they say. It genuinely is food for the soul. So what a brilliant idea.
Yeah. So for me, you know, it's just looking at, you know, people often say, well, why is it called Outstanding Global? And I said, well, we all need to stand up for who we are, what we believe in, and create global kinship. So and we all need to be outstanding at whatever it is that we do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the, you know, and I created Outstanding Global when I was coming up to my 70th birthday, because people kept on saying, when are you going to retire? Oh. And I said, I think I'll probably retire when I'm dead.
Yeah.
So now it's my 7th birthday, Outstanding Global.
Oh, wow.
So I'm 76 coming up this year.
Yeah.
And, you know, there it is. And you know, keep doing what you love. And love what you keep doing, and hopefully we'll all, as you say, walk around healthy, wealthy,
and
wise.
Hopefully a bit wiser. Yeah. On that note, Nigel, it's been absolute joy having this conversation. I wish you every success with that book that your wonderful husband has written for you, and for us, and for the world. And hopefully that will trigger some people to get off their bums and take some action. Right. You're like David Attenborough, aren't you? You're kind of taking his mantle of going out there and telling everybody in the world, you know, you have to be worried about this. You have to do something about this and concern yourself with our planet.
Well, funnily enough, I've just in the past month had a conversation with him.
I'm not surprised.
About you know, because there's a particular situation that I thought he might be able to help us with, but he can't do that. But he suddenly went, ooh. We do this. So yeah, there's a growing collaboration with David Attenborough, and he's coming up to 100 years old, for God's sake.
I know, it's amazing, but that doesn't stop him. Like you say, you retire when you're dead, don't you? Why would you stop doing what you love? And he's got such wisdom that we would be crazy to not let him carry on doing what he wants to do, because when he speaks, absolutely, people listen, don't they, around the world, which is amazing accolade for him to carry. Yeah. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really hope the Asian cheetah and anyone else.
Asiatic cheetah.
Asiatic, beg your pardon. Asiatic cheetah. Yeah. Good luck in the book launch as well. If anybody is going off to the, where is it going to be?
It's going to be at the Marylebone Theatre at 2:00 on the 17th of March. The Marylebone Theatre, Baker Street, London. Please contact me if you want to come. We can get you a ticket. That'll be fine.
Lovely. And what's the easiest way to get hold of you?
Nigel at outstanding.global.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. Like a professional actor.
Oh dear.
That would be fantastic to be able to. I wish you every luck with that. I will check my diary to see what's going on the 17th of March. I'd love to be there to give you a round of applause for what you're doing. I think it's amazing, and I love the rewilding story as well. You're full of stories. There's another book in there, I'm sure, several along the way, and Nigel is also going to be speaking at Collaboration Global in the not too distant future. So check out our events. You'll find them on collaborationglobal.org on the website, or you can go to Eventbrite and you can find them there as well. Come and meet meet the man himself online at one of our sessions. They will be on a Tuesday session. I think it's March, isn't it, Nigel? I can't remember offhand.
Yeah, it's around. Funnily enough, it's around the book launch time, so it's perfect timing. And the talk that I'm going to do is called "Cheating the Cheetah."
That's right. Cheating the cheetah. That would be lovely. Thank you so much for your time. I really look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hopefully in real life one time, so we can actually give each other a hug. That would be lovely.
Quite right. Lovely. Thank you, Jill.
Take care. Bye.